Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. And thank you for coming back to the evening sessions. We have, to start off with, we have what has become our Kansasfest tradition, an update on Today on iOS with Rob Walch. Take it away.
We're now 12th year. And so, last year I did a little retrospect. I showed all the movies and TV shows that had been released since the iPhone. I said, this year will take a little different. Let's take it a little more serious. Let's look at the companies that have come out since the iPhone came out. So Spotify came out in October 2008. We had Groupon, November 2008. Uber, 2009. Pinterest, 2009. Now, these aren't just ones I use. Especially the last one. Instagram, well, I do use it. This is the original. I tried to find the original icons where I could. So you can see, I don't know if that was the original. I couldn't get a good one on that. Snapchat, September 2011. And then, of course, couldn't do a company without Tinder. And none of these companies would be what they are if it wasn't for the iPhone. So it's just interesting seeing how these companies are all part of society now. I mean, swipe left, swipe right is part of the vernacular. And none of it would have been possible without that device in June 2007. And one of the great things I have is an Apple Watch, so I can say, look, I'm going to reject someone. So that's where the Apple Watch comes in nicely. So your phone's not vibrating in your pocket, distracting you. So back in July 2007 when I got up here and I talked about this, and I said, ooh, you can have 4 gig or 8 gig. And it's this. And today, we can talk about that. All of this stuff has come out of it. So this has been added since last year, but you've got 8 different iPhones to choose from, 4 different iPads. You've got kind of 6, I really counted 3 different Apple Watches to choose from. And you've got a couple of Apple TVs to choose between, and then you've got the Apple Pencil, which my dog ate the end off of, and the Apple keyboard, AirPods, which I love my AirPods. I've had them a year and a half. I absolutely love them. But you can't have that without this. So getting these without an Apple Watch doesn't really take effect because it's hard to adjust sounds. So in the last 12 months, quick summary of what's happened in the last 12 months from big picture. iPhone 10, do not call it iPhone X. If you do on your podcast, you will get 10 emails from people saying, you called it iPhone X. iPhone 8, 8 Plus. As a matter of fact, in my show notes, I don't even write X anymore. I write 10 in capital letters, so you don't accidentally do it. The Apple Watch Series 3, which, in my opinion, is the first Apple Watch series that really hits what I think the mission of what Apple was looking for. The battery life lasts easy 2 days, usually 3. You can do cellular calls. So this is really the first Apple Watch that I can recommend to my relatives. Lots of bugs and boring updates in the last year. I'll get over that. And then the HomePod, which, well, we'll talk about that. So last year, I showed this slide. This is a slide from last year's presentations, and I was saying iPhone 2017. And I said, well, this is probably, I don't know, they'll do this, but I don't know, I don't think they'll do this. I think they'll just do these. And well, they did all 3. So this actually wound up being, as you know, the iPhone 8, the 8 Plus, and the 10. But this was the actual slide that was out there, and this is really what was released last year. So they did get it in that rumor group. We'll get to this year's rumors in a little bit. They've been more consistent than any past year, I would say. But before we get there, here's a little presentation just to show you, I always try to find good videos. I'll tell you, I was hard-pressed to find good videos this year. So this is the best one I could find.
Introducing the $1,000 emoji machine. This is what Steve would have wanted. Probably. The new iPhone X emoji comes in 2 new colors. You can't and afford it. The Face ID technology is unnecessary. When you look at your phone, it'll shoot thousands of lasers straight into your pores. Then it sucks out your soul, much like a Dementor. That's how our phones get power. Thank you for your life juice. We then store your faces right here on this shelf to keep forever, just for a rainy day. Woohoo! You may have noticed that there's no longer a home button. You don't need it. So let me just scroll down this web page. Ah, shit. Scroll down. Fuck. It's not what I did. Stop. That's not what I'm trying. Fuck. Photos and video now take up the entire phone. Hope you don't mind that black bar over there, though, because that will not go away. The camera has a new studio lighting mode, so you can trick people on Tinder and Bumble into thinking you're good looking. It's like catfishing for a whole new generation. You will never, ever, ever play this game. You just won't. We hope you enjoy reenacting the entire Emoji Movie, or writing its sequel, using our $1,000 emoji machine. It's the new iPhone X. Costs as much as a good laptop, or 3 Switches and 2 games. Or 50 U2 albums. Oh, and one more thing.
He said it.
We're also releasing the brand new iPhone 7S, 8. Sorry, the new iPhone 8. It's completely different from the iPhone 7. You see, now it's $800.
So, we don't talk about iPhone 9. Didn't happen. This was one of the better memes out there. In 1965, there'd be flying cars and a cure for cancer, and in 2017, there was the emojis. I make it a habit, if you listen to my podcast, I don't talk about animojis. I hate animojis. I think the poop Animoji sums it up pretty well. So we're not going to talk about that as being any of the new features in iOS 12. Another good one was this. I'm selling all my belongings so I can afford the new iPhone 10. Or this one. Before the iPhone 10 and after. Yeah, that was good. That was good. I put this together. This shows you all the iPhones that are out there and the prices from the lower gigabyte version to the higher. And so it starts at $350 and it works its way up to $1150. I want you to notice right here, there's a gap. There's a gap here. That tells us what's going to happen this year when you look at it. There's going to be something that'll fill in this, because Apple doesn't like gaps. Right? So they're going to fill the gap. Mind the gap, as they say in New York City. So I think when we see this year, we're going to see that the new high end will stay at this price point, $999 for the lower, and then $1150. But then you're going to see the next version below it be $899. So there's nothing at the $899 intro price right here. So that's, anyway.
Can I give you this one to use instead? That one's noisy.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
But Apple, if you look at it, they've done a pretty good job, though, trying to hit every price point people can look at, as far as down as low as they'll go. They won't go below that. Now, one of the big complaints about the iPhone 10, it was missing the home button. So you can go out and buy, for $19, a home button that actually does work. And not only that, they put the headphone jack in this as well. So for those people that didn't like the missing home button and headphone jack, you can get this little adapter to put on there. I don't know if you want to buy this one, because this is their ad. No need app. So I'm going to guess that the marketing comes out of not out of the U.S. But you can actually get it from Walmart. I pulled this off of Walmart.com website. But there's a lot of them out there. So if you got the iPhone 10 and you missed the home button, you can buy it. My wife was like, my son, we passed the phones down, and my son was convinced my wife that she can't live without the home button, so he knows he then gets the phone this year. The other thing people complain about is the the notch. I don't call it a notch. Some people call embrace the notch, hide the notch. I have a theory. I think Johnny Ive owns a French bulldog, and let me explain why. Because the ears fit perfect right there. So I call them ears. I don't call it a notch. I think he extended the screen so he could fit his dog's picture in, just like I did mine. The other new product, you know, I want to say this. People really berated the iPhone 10 when it was released, and they were saying, oh, there was so many rumors in December and January about how Apple's canceling orders and all this and all that. When it came out, at the end of the day, they sold a lot of freaking iPhone 10s. So it did really well. It was the #1 selling iPhone from the time it was released until the end of last quarter. So it's done really well. Now, not so well, but actually pretty good device, is the Apple HomePod. What the Apple HomePod is, well, it's not the Echo Dot. I mean, I literally right now in a cabinet in my house have 5 Echo Dots that I bought. I got 4 of them this week on Amazon Prime Day because they were $29. And they sit up there, and we pull them out and we give them to teachers for teacher appreciation, a teacher's birthday, or whatever. You won't do that with the HomePod. It's expensive. The audio quality is really good. I can't recommend you buy it yet because what it doesn't have, any inputs. There's no line in for it. There's not even a simple line in. You can't take an audio cable like this that you plug into your laptop. There's no 1/8 inch into it. And this cord doesn't come out unless you really yank it, and I'm not sure it goes back in. Right? So it's not like they have it where this should have been a USB-C port, and they should have had an 1/8 inch jack on the back of this thing. I don't understand that. But that's Apple. So if you're looking at getting that, understand the downside of it. Now, that said, I have it in my office because I really do like it. It's great for listening to podcasts because it does a good job on that, and it's good for listening to music. And I watch movies, and I have a little exercycle, and I can stream the audio to it, and it sounds better. It does a good job on the audio, but it's not meant to replace the Alexa Echo Dot or anything like that. It's not in the same ballpark. No. I showed this slide. I'll update it a little bit for this year. How many, just to put it in perspective, how many units have been sold all time? Macs all time, Apple sold about 6 million, was it Apple IIs? Apple IIs, 6 million all time. Macs, 240 million Macs all time. Ford sold about 367 million cars all time. There was about 400 million Sony Walkman sold all time. And now for iOS devices, we're at 1.9 billion devices. So somewhere in the next 3 months, you're going to hear Apple mention that they hit 2 billion iOS devices sold. So that's a lot of units. Do you need a picture? Do you get? Okay. This slide is getting really confusing. It's just getting worse and worse. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. You can see the peak months, 74.5 million iPhones. This is sales per quarter. So the peak was, these were the holiday quarters, 74.5 million in 2013, 2014, 15, 16, and 17. And then it was 78.3, and then last year was 77.3. But the 77.3, the ASPs were like $150 more than the ASPs of the year before because of the iPhone 10, so they actually made more money. So, it's not at the end of the day how many overall, but how much they make, and Apple's makes quite a bit. And you can see when the different ones came out. More important one is this trend line, the last 4 quarters. And you can see this is where their peak iPhone sales were back here in 2014, 2015. And then it's kind of flat, it went down, and then it's kind of flattening out. And this is kind of just a flat period. The reality is, it's hard to find people that don't have them. Really, at this point, Apple's it's pulling over Android users. That's where they have to pull from for new users. It's not, there's people, everybody has a smartphone at this point. It's ubiquitous. How many all time? Now again, the iPhones, they've sold almost 1.4 billion iPhones all time over the years. And then if we look, and these are boring slides, I'm sorry. iPad sales, the iPad sales, you can see, once people got them, they last forever. Our first iPad still works. And so people just aren't inclined to go out and buy new iPads. Apple has to, they're actually going to have to do some real innovation to get people to start buying them again. I know. And if you look at the 4 quarters, I always like looking at this trend line better. It has actually flattened out and come up a little bit. So the iPad Pros and the Apple Pencil seem to have helped turn the tide from the decline to up a little bit of growth. And again, all time they sold about 400, still they sold 400 million iPads. Again, that's more than how many Walkmans were sold. Right? So it's still a huge number, don't get me wrong. And when people say, oh, the iPad sales are bad, no, not really. They're still really good. They still sell more in each quarter than Apple ever sold to the Apple IIe's all time. Or Apple IIs, I should say, not even E's. And then this shows you the 4 quarters trended in the same quarter from launch on where the iPad is versus where the iPhone was. So the iPhone at this point in the iPad's life was still growing, and then it flattened out. This is now just starting to come back. What does all this mean? This means in the last 2 years the stock's doubled. So when I came here 2 years ago and said buy, the stock's down, it's doubled. So thank you, you're welcome for anyone that bought then. And I came here a year ago and I said it was up like 1.5, and it's kind of gone up, where it was a year ago was right about here. And it's gone up. It was about 140 last year, 150 when I came for this, and now it's hovering right around 190. All-time highs. So we'll see if next year I can say it's still up, if we hit $1 trillion yet or not. That's the big point. But Apple's doing okay. I think that's the main message here. Just doing all right. Now this year, I make these bingo cards. I call them bingo cards. And I do these for all the different events, the September events, the WWDC events. And I try to put in all what the different rumors are and everything like that. And how boring this WWDC was, I couldn't even fill my bingo card with rumors. And these rumors are bound. And I couldn't find a legitimate enough rumors to put together a bingo card for the first time ever, and I didn't release it. Because there just wasn't enough rumors. And why? Because, well, here, this is what's new with iOS 12. Hopefully you've had some caffeine. It's about performance and speed. I mean, that's first and foremost what the message was. Screen time, that's probably the best app of the updates. I would say that's probably the best one if you have kids especially.
What is it?
Screen time.
What is it?
Okay, so screen time lets you pick how much time you'll spend per day on a specific type of application. So you can say games have this amount of time in a day, and that's it, no more time than that. And you can see which applications, how much time. You've kind of seen that before, but now you can limit it. So you can limit, okay, entertainment apps like YouTube get so many hours. So I can see on the kids' devices they get this, and I can share it over devices. So it's a nice way, a parental way. It was actually, if you go back here, it was one of the few things that I said was one of the rumors, like advanced parental controls to monitor screen time. And they actually called it screen time. So that one hit. Group FaceTime, up to 32 people, group FaceTime chat. That would be a cluster of a call. 32 people, wow. This is probably the one that I've heard the most positive from my listeners, was the CarPlay allowing you to use Waze and Google Maps. And I think that was one that's probably second, if you weren't a parent, especially and you commute, that's probably the top one, if you're a non-parent and a commuter. Group notification, whatever. They rebuilt the Stocks app. They rebuilt the News app. They put the voice memo app for the iPad, and they even released this Measure app, which you can point at things and measure it. They changed the name from iBooks to Books. And it's all available on the same devices as iOS 11, and they call it iOS 12. What I call it? iOS 11.5.
They did do more to books than just rename it, though, because they've got some nice new stuff in there.
They improved it, yes.
Because I mean,
Yeah.
it helps you keep track of where you are in all your books. You can find the ones you're still in the middle of reading more easily. So that's nice. But yeah,
But overall,
sure.
the upgrade, I know I've been doing these upgrades year after year. I was desperate to fill this half of the slide, to find things.
Of course, they warned people like 6 months
Yes.
ago that it was going to be like this, so at least it wasn't a shock.
Right. And, and they come out and they're like, okay, where's iOS 12 compatible? It's exactly compatible. If your device ran iOS 11, it will run iOS 12. It's that simple. You don't even have to go. Again, I consider it iOS 11. Now, I did hear a rumor that Tinder is going to use the Measure app. I don't know why.
Oh, no.
Oh my God.
But it's accurate. I took a 12-inch ruler and measured it, and it said it was 12 inches. So,
I'm glad that's how you tested it.
yes. And this is, by the way, screen time. So this is a screen time app. So I looked at the last 7 days on one of my kids' devices. Fortnite, 8 hours and 40 minutes.
On iOS.
Yeah, we had a little talk. And then YouTube was 2 hours and 54, or Netflix was 2 hours and 54, and YouTube was an hour and 32 for the week. So yeah, we had a little talk on that device. That's on our iPad Pro. I'll say this, for FaceTime, I like it. It works really well. And some people give it a lot of crap. They make fun of it sucking your soul.
Yeah.
But it works for me, and then I don't shave. I work from home, so I'll go 3 days and then I'll shave. And I'll go 3 or 4 days and I'll shave again. And it unlocks it the whole time through, so I'm coming in and out of stubble, taking the goatee on and off. So I think Apple's done a good job with it. It wasn't one thing that was really rumored last year. We didn't talk about it. No one was really rumoring it. So Apple did a good job on keeping that one pretty secret right up until it happened. So I went back and I watched last year's presentation. So how did I do last year? What was I predicting? Well, of course, the A11 processor, which is like the free chip. I said storage would go up to 512. They didn't go to 512, so they stopped at 256 on all the devices. I said it'd go to clock speed at 2.5 gig on the newest device, and it only went to 2.39, so I missed there. I said it would be an iPhone 8, and it was the iPhone 10. So I'm not going to, there was an iPhone 8, but that wasn't what we were expecting. I did say they would turn the camera 90 degrees, and they did, and it would be remain at 3 gig, and didn't have 24 hours of talk time though. The home button, that the Touch ID would not be in the power button because there's no Touch ID. And I said have a wireless charging, and it did. And I said the fingerprint sensor would be on the screen, and it did. Nope, that wasn't it. It would have an edge display, and it'd be OLED, yes. So some of the predictions came through last year, some not so much. But one thing I want to point out on the iPhone 10, it's not a plus size upgrade. If you were a plus size phone, if you had a 6 Plus, a 6S Plus, or 7 Plus, and you went for the iPhone 10, you would have been a little disappointed, because when you take the iPhone 10 and you're in the Mail app and you turn it 90 degrees, it looks like this. But when you go on a plus size phone, you get the split screen. You get the split screen on the Notes app, and you get the split screen on a few other apps. The iPhone 10 doesn't work that way. To me, the 10 is really the upgrade from the 7 and the 6S and the 6, which means we're probably going to be seeing something that's a little bit bigger, and that's what the rumors have kind of been pointing to. So what was new last year, what actually was new again, was the A11 and the 2.39 and 4K to 60 frames per second. But it was outside of the fact that it was the edge-to-edge screen. If you were just looking at the 8 or the 8 Plus and comparing it to the 7 and the 7 Plus, the 8 and the 8 Plus to 7 Plus, Overall, it was a really boring update. It was really just it added wireless charging and a glass back that cracks. Right? So you go from cracking the front, now cracking the front and the back. And you got rid of things. You got rid of the home button, which people like. And I'll tell you, there are times where I wish I had the home button. It's still tough to get used to. So it takes a little bit of time.
I saw removal of the headphone jack.
Well, that was on the 7, yeah. So that was back on the 7. So the 7, we removed the headphone jack. And that stayed over with the 8. So the 8s and the 8 Plus and the iPhone 10s don't have the headphone jack.
But are people happy with no headphone jack?
People love having things taken away.
I will say that after the initial uproar, it kind of settled down, and
Yeah.
people have pretty much gotten over it.
Yeah, I mean, last year I came up here and I showed a slide, and it was a little comic, and it said, people were in an uproar about the headphone jack going away, and then you had Samsung, people were upset that their phones were exploding. So,
Yeah.
you take it with, yeah. That said, there are still people that do like it, having it. There are times where I wish I had the headphone jack, absolutely. I miss it. I hate having to pull out the adapter to plug it in. I've got Bose headphones. I want to plug them into my iPhone 10. I got to find the adapter. And where's the adapter? Oh, it's probably downstairs where the kids took it last, and because he wants it for his phone that doesn't have the headphone jack either, and he wants it for his headphones because he's playing Fortnite on his phone, which is more hours in the week that weren't covered on the last slide. But it's wireless charging. Apple announced last year they were going to have this charging pad, and they couldn't even get that out. It was supposed to be out in the spring. It still hasn't released AirPower, which is supposed to charge all different types of devices. So they still haven't released that. So expect that here in the next few months. They're going to have a new AirPods case that will be charged. You can just drop it on there and charge it, and you have one pad to charge all your devices, which is nice. Because I have been waiting for this so much, I haven't gone out and bought a wireless charging pad yet. I keep Apple's going to release it. It's going to release it, and it hasn't been released.
It's actually kind of awesome to have wireless charging pads like all over the house, though. You just drop your phone wherever and charge it. It's great.
I think.
Price has when you can afford to do that.
They've come down in price fast the last couple of months.
Yeah, and I need to get some because right now my wife is annoyed because we have cables everywhere to charge this device here and charge that device. Eventually, all our devices will be wireless charged, and then the cables will kind of go away. So looking at the iPhone 2018 rumors, the one rumor that keeps popping up in and out is this triple cameras on the back, because I guess you can. And some of them have the two together and one is separate. So that's this picture. But I think the one thing that's been consistent since December is there are going to be 3 iPhones this year. We'll call them the XS, because then you can say 10XS. Yeah, or 10S, I should say, 10S, 10S Plus. But you're going to have this is the 10, the 10 currently, 5.8. So that'll go to the 10S. And then you'll have this 9, which is going to be, they're saying it'll be not OLED screen, but a LCD, and it'll be 6.1 inches, and that'll be there's finally the iPhone 9. And then you'll have a 6.5 inch, which is finally the FaceTime no home button version of the plus size version device. And hopefully that, when you turn it sideways, will have the split screen and some additional features. So I would say I will be very surprised if this isn't the lineup that's announced in September, because this has been consistent since December, coming out of the rumor mills. Whether it be this picture where they rearrange them a little bit, but it all seems to be 6.5 OLED, 5.8 OLED, and a 6.1 LCD. And this one will be lower in price. And again, this makes sense. When you went back to that price chart, there was a gap. There was something missing in the price chart. This makes sense. It fills the price chart. The other rumor is the iPhone SE2, which was supposed to have been updated at WWDC, which was one of the rumors, and it was supposed to be updated in May, and it was supposed to be updated in April, and it was supposed to be updated in March, and it hasn't been updated yet. This device is over 2 years old. It's long in the tooth, but it's the lower entry device. People have had a lot of different images of what it's going to be. Some say it's going to be the full screen with 2 cameras on the back. Again, no home button, 2 cameras. This is another version of it. Again, basically the current SE design, but edge-to-edge screen with Face ID. But Face ID is expensive. Home buttons aren't. And this is supposed to be the lower end device. And I think the iPhone SE 2, this is all Apple's going to do. They're going to drop a 2 there, and it'll be some improvements on the chips. So I think this will be the SE 2. It'll be the same as the SE. They're just going to upgrade the internals a little bit. Again, keep that $350 price point going. And when we look at new specs for iPhones, what to expect in 2018, obviously you go to the A12 processor. That will finally hit 2.5 gig this year. I think they're going to go to RAM. It's going to go to 4 gig to support the new screens, especially for the plus size version. It'll have 30 hours of talk time for the plus. I think you may see the triple rear camera for the plus. Here's one that's going to be nice for speed. 128 kilobyte L1 cache. Right now it's at what's it? 32. So right now it's 1/4 that speed. So basically it's going to quadruple the cache, which would make it a nice, faster overall experience. Gorilla Glass. Corning just announced Gorilla Glass 6. So if Corning's announcing it now, that probably means they want to be able to sell to other people, and Apple probably had them locked in, so that probably means we'll see Corning Glass 6, which is supposed to be much stronger in the next round of iPhones, finally, because I don't think Sapphire is ever going to happen. Facial ID for all devices other than the SE, so I mean, not counting the SE. $999 for the XS Plus. And $899 for the 10S Plus, and if this was my podcast, I have so many emails. And $899 for the 10S this year. Again, 5.8, 6.5, 6.1, edge-to-edge screen for all those devices. No home buttons, again, unless it's the SE. It's really been a boring year this year. I don't see it being. I don't know. I just don't see Apple coming out with anything overly exciting. They did release the iPad 6th generation this past year, which was really aimed more at the education market, so that's why they released it in the time frame they did to get to this year's education buy, which is nice because it does support the Apple Pencil, which I really do love my Apple Pencil. If you've ever used it, it really does work nice, especially on the newer Pro. It really is responsive. And my dog loved the way the end tasted. And this is the current iPad lineup, but I think we'll see some improvements. I think, when we look at the rumors, I do think we're going to see the iPads going to Face ID as well and going edge to edge, which means that the devices will be smaller but with bigger screens. You'll be able to fit the 12.9-inch display in the current size of the 10.5-inch footprint if you go edge to edge. And the iPad mini, current size of the iPad mini will fit the 9.7-inch display. So you'll have the same amount of screen real estate, but in the size of the iPad mini. And to put that in perspective of how they would look size-wise, this is the iPhone 10 here. So I'm going to put this nice comparison together. If it doesn't happen this year, it'll probably be next year, but I think we'll see that this year. We didn't see any iPads that were announced updates last year. They did the updates at WWDC timeframe. This year there was no major iPad updates at WWDC. That means things are probably slipped a little bit. That would indicate more towards this. We'll find out. Apple Watch, again, if you were on the fence, the Apple Watch 3, Series 3 is really nice. The battery life on it is so much better than the original. The original, you could kind of make it through a day. When I got this Apple Watch Series 3, I was going 3 days without recharge. I go now easy 2 days. I don't get, I don't worry about the battery life anymore, which is nice. I mean, I've gone on business trips where I didn't even take the charger because it was a 2-day business trip, and I came back and it was fine. Now, for those of you on the fence on the Apple Watch, I got a video for you here. I want you to watch this video. Watch it carefully. Watch this guy right here.
Wow.
Do you see how long it took him to put, for those that don't know what that was a credit card skimmer. So let me loop that video here, how quick that was.
What do you mean, he reads the data on the card?
Yeah, this is at a point of sales inside a convenience store. This guy put a skimmer that looks just like it. You will have no idea. If you went into this convenience store after this guy paid, by the way, he pays cash. If you go into this store and use your credit card, swipe your credit card on this skimmer, they've got your credit card information. I pay with my Apple Watch everywhere I can.
Same. It's awesome.
Yeah.
And it's still like blows the minds even after all this time.
And
It's like,
this
what?
would also steal your stuff if you're chipping. Use the card, not just swiping it, but the chip also.
This won't steal your Apple Pay.
No, no.
If it's card chip, I don't know if it'll steal it on the chip, or if it only works for once it swipes. But all I know, I don't trust my credit cards anywhere anymore. You see how, I mean, this is in a store. It takes the guy 2 seconds to install it. And it's crazy. So people ask me why the Apple Watch, right there. To me, that security of being able to buy wherever I can is worth it for me. So what we're going to see this year, we'll see an iPhone SE2. We're going to see iPads, I think, with the notch and edge screen. Apple Watch Series 4, because you just bought a new Apple Watch, so that guarantees it. And then finally, we'll see the AirPower, in addition to the iPhone, the new iPhones, the other 3 iPhones I mentioned. There hasn't been really any rumors of any other products. Thankfully, the rumors about the Apple Car have gone away. I don't have to talk about that anymore. So I think Apple's hopefully given up on that. Last year, they announced Prime Video finally came out earlier this year, which is great. So now I've got Prime Video, HBO Now, and Netflix on my Apple TVs, and that covers me for what I need to watch. I think the biggest app, though, to come to the iPhone, Fortnite. Don't play it; it's addictive. Don't do it. Stay away. Stay away. But I think of the accessories that I got this last year, my favorite one is the Ember. Anybody drink coffee or tea? This is a Wi-Fi enabled coffee tea mug that has a battery and a heater in it, and you put your tea there and it holds the temperature at whatever you like. So I have kids, we'll get a cup, me and my wife will get cups of tea, we take them upstairs, and we don't drink coffee, we drink tea in our house, and we'll take them up, and then we'll go talk to the kids and get them in bed. By the time we get in bed, sometimes we go back and go to get a sip of tea, and it's like cold, and it's like, oh. Now it stays warm, and it stays right at the temperature. She likes it at 135, I like it at like 123, so hers is at a higher temperature, mine's at lower. I bought them for us for Valentine's Day, and she's like, this is like the worst, least romantic gift you ever gave. And then like a month later, she goes, I love this. So if you haven't checked it out, it's actually really cool.
Does it do wireless charging?
It does not do wireless charging. It has a little you do not put it in the dishwasher. It has a little hot plate type that you put it on, and it has contact pogo pins that it sits on and charges. It's nice. Then one other accessory I like is this, which is a portable projector.
What?
Yeah, so let me show you this. 1 second here. And to show you how big that is, this is it right here. It actually supports 1080 on it.
Well, is it that it supports 1080 input?
Oh, wait, it's not as good as this. Don't get me wrong. Oh, no.
Because a lot of them, they'll say, oh, it supports, 1080p or it's actually, it supports that as an input, but what it outputs is, 720p.
Yeah, no, it actually does a pretty good job. Matter of fact, when I connect this laptop to it, it actually has better resolution than the laptop. It's one when your icons all spread out and you have to mirror it to get your icons back to where they need to be. So, searching for HDMI, boom, comes in, should come in. And so there's the picture. Again, it's not as clear as it was over here, but it's not too bad either. And if you ever do presentations, you can bring this with you if you're not sure if there's going to be a projector somewhere, and it's nice and it's small and it fits in your bag. So I like that from that perspective, and I'll end up, on the slide here, I went back and looked at some of my favorite Hey series. So if you want to do any Hey series, Luke, say this Hey Siri, Luke, I am your father. You listen to all the different responses, they're classic. Another one is, what is the maximum airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow? What is 0 divided by 0, which is a classic. Which leads you to the number 2 one is, why is the Cookie Monster sad? Which will make a lot more sense when you ask it, what is 0 divided by 0? But my favorite one, say, hey Siri, I see a little silhouette of a man. And she will read out the whole Bohemian Rhapsody. It is. They have a good sense of humor there at Apple. So whatever you want to say about Siri. Now I will say this, in iOS 12, Siri does get more features. So that she can open up apps, she can do more things. They're doing more with Siri. It will become better in iOS 12. I think that will be things we talk about more next year of what Siri can do. Right now it's still limited because people haven't integrated yet, because people can't upgrade their apps yet until Apple releases iOS 12. But I think what Apple's allowing, from what I've seen, you should be able to do more with third-party apps with Siri. So that was the presentation. And again, this, I think it was on sale on Amazon Prime this week for like $250. So it's not bad. Again, if you do a presentation, the kids like it because it also runs Android. But what they care about is that's Netflix. So they can actually take this into a different room and put it up on the wall, and they can watch Netflix off of it. And it lasts for about 3.5 hours. They say 4. I've never seen it make 4. It's called the Nebula. I didn't put the name up there. It's a Nebula capsule. It's a Nebula capsule. But that was one of the cool accessories. I get around to speak a lot, and I go do presentations. So if you're doing presentations at a company and you happen to walk in and they don't have connections or they don't have a projector, and you're like, oh, you can pull this out of your bag and project up on the wall. So it's nice, saver. And then again, you can connect. The other thing is you can go wireless with your iPhone, and you can mirror your iPhone. Now, I've heard rumors of people mirroring their iPhone and doing things where they project it up on the ceiling with their significant others, and I'm not going to get into that stories. But yeah, there's all kinds of things that people have told me about with it. So anyway, but the kids like it for Netflix, and it has it built right in. And it's not, again, it's clearly not as bright as. I think we take this over here and switch out.
What's replacement bulbs on that like?
Buy a new unit, probably. Yeah. So. Oops. There we go.
All of a sudden, not steady.
There. You're not going to hold for me, are you? All right. But point is, it's not a bad device. As you can see, you guys, it has Netflix right there. You can go in and do that, and
So
Amazon
the
Video.
projector itself has apps and it's wireless and
Yeah.
can stream media?
Yeah,
Impressive.
yeah. I mean, again, I bought it for work. That's what I told the wife. Yeah. But it's actually, if you do travel for work and you do have to make a lot of presentations, it's nice to have this. I mean, if you've ever done a presentation and you walk in and they go, oh, the projector's not working, and you're just like, oh. I mean, it's like, okay, everyone here, let me put my laptop here, everyone get behind me, and let me show you on the laptop. It's kind of, you got 12 people in a room and you're all squished around your laptop. It's not, it doesn't usually result in a sale.
Any prediction for headphone jack and the new iPad?
Okay, rumor mill is when they go to the true wireless or edge to edge, they'll get rid of it. I hope they don't. I really hope they don't. I look at, well, first off, I don't see the reason to get rid of it. You could fit the headphone jack in this. I've never been a proponent of the removal of the headphone jack. I mean, you have the room to fit it. But on top of that, I know Apple, I won't buy the new MacBook yet because it's down to, I don't like that there's no HDMI port on it. Right? This has an HDMI port. I don't care that they just do quote unquote made their, what they say, they made the keyboards, they improved the keyboards to make it quiet, but they really fixed the dust problem. I don't care that the dust problem may be fixed. I don't like to have dongles for everything, and hopefully they don't do that to the iPad. Because the iPad, to me, is more of a media consumption device, and being able to have my Bose headphones connected. Now I have to go find a dongle to connect my Bose headphones when I want to, yeah.
You got the education market there.
Yeah, and that's another good point. Yeah.
You have cheap headphones instead of.
Because my school district where we live, they are going to, and I don't know why they're doing this, but they're going Chromebooks from 6th to 8th grade. Every kid gets a Chromebook, and 9th to 12th grade, every kid gets an iPad. So I don't know why they're doing that mix, but they are having iPads in all the high school kids in our school district. And our school district is 5 high schools at 400 kids per grade. So was it 5? So 2,000, yeah, 2,000 times 4. So 8,000 kids are going to have
Versus
iPads.
the other way around, they have iPads in 4th grade, and it's actually Dell laptops after that.
Yeah.
My brother works for Dell, and it still makes me gag.
Do you think there will be an iPad Mini 5 anytime soon? It's been 3 years since iPad Mini 4.
Here's the thing. If we go back to this slide, if you can put the 9.7-inch display inside the iPad Mini, and then the other device, so this is a 9.7, and then you have an iPhone that's 6.5 inches, do you really need a 7.9-inch display, and where does it fit? I think what Apple will do is put this bigger display in the smaller package, and that's your Mini. I mean, really, right? That's what you want, is something smaller to put in the, well, not your purse, but my wife's put in her purse. She still uses the iPad Mini. She still likes the iPad Mini because it fits in her purse, and it's a smaller device.
I like the Mini as well.
Right. But if you had the size of the Mini, but the display of the regular iPad, I think that's a win-win. Otherwise, you're going to be in some weird space in between the 6.5-inch and the 7.9, and does it really need, do you need that? I don't see them having something falling in between that. I just see them going to 2 sizes for the iPads, which is, well, actually 3. There'll be the ones for education market, which won't be edge to edge, which is what they announced in March. So that'll be the true iPad, the 9.7 one. And then you'll have the iPad Mini, which will have the 9.7-inch display, but edge to edge with no home button. And then you have the iPad Pro, and they'll go to one iPad Pro, which will be the 12.9 display, but in the size of the 10.5-inch. So the big Pro that you've got, the 12.9, I think they'll discontinue that big package.
Thank you.
Yeah.
There seems to be a movement
towards more child controls, or I'm sorry,
Mhm.
parental controls
Right.
for children. Are there any rumors of child controls for parents?
Yeah.
Because my dad's always moving his icons around by accident, and he's double tapping when he didn't.
You know,
need to. I want
okay.
to turn all that shit off.
Here's the beauty of it. It's not really restricted on age and who you can put those restrictions on. You can put it on anyone, just put a different passcode in.
But can I eliminate like a lot of the features they've been adding for multitasking
Well,
that
here's-
you can't figure out?
Well, here's one thing that's missing. I haven't found it, and hopefully it's coming back. And I didn't get a chance because they updated to beta 4 yesterday, and I haven't played with it yet. But what's missing in the first 3 betas is the ability to restrict the deletion of apps.
Yes.
Right. So they removed that ability. They used to be under restrictions, and they took the restrictions and they put them under the screen time. But they overlooked or haven't put it in or forgot about the ability to say, no, you can't delete apps, which is a huge issue because I let my kids use my phones and I don't want my devices. I don't want them deleting my apps. And in your case, when your parents deleting stuff. So I would just say set up the restrictions for them like they're a kid.
Yeah.
And just don't let them know that the restrictions are set. They won't know. That's just, that's how it works. They won't know they can't delete. Now, hopefully, again, they'll bring it back in iOS 12. I think, again, it's beta, so I'm not going to give them too much grief yet. I may mention on the next episode that if it's not there in beta 4 when I play with it this week, that, hey, where is it? And I've already had a couple listeners say, hey, where is it? Because that, to me, is a big issue.
Yeah, the deleting apps is there.
Is it in iOS 12?
I'm looking at it right now.
What under where?
If you go into
Is it in beta 4?
yeah, it's beta 4. If
Okay.
you go into screen time and then into content privacy restrictions, it's under iTunes and App Store purchases.
Okay.
And the second, it's got installing apps, deleting apps, in-app purchases.
Okay, I couldn't find it in beta 3, so maybe it might have been there, I just missed it. But they're hiding things. I mean, Apple does a really good job sometimes of hiding features. They move them around. I have a lot of blind listeners, and every year I go through the updates, and I kind of just methodically go through. Here's where this feature was moved to that feature. And people are like, why do you do that? I go, because the blind folks, it's hard for them to find things that have been moved. I can go through and look a lot faster than they can use VoiceOver to try to find the stuff. So I try to do that one episode each year. Like, here's everything that is moved and where. And sometimes I'll say, I have no idea why Apple moved this. That makes no sense. And sometimes they'll hide something under a sub-menu before it was clear and it was out there. And sometimes they'll move something where it was hard to find out. But this year, they moved a few things that I was just scratching my head on.
Like what? I'm curious which ones you were interested in.
There was, I have to go back to my show notes and look at them, but there was like 3 that I was like, I don't know why they moved this here, why they broke this out. It made sense. It was under accessibilities. There were accessibility items.
You didn't have much to say about the Apple TV.
I talked a little bit about Apple TV last year because they had kind of given all the features of what it was going to be, so I didn't repeat this year. But the 4K Apple TV, it's really nice. If you have the game control, it's a really nice game machine. Doesn't have Fortnite yet. We at our house, we've got really good Wi-Fi. I got Google Fiber at my house, and then I've got Eero for our Wi-Fi. So we get kids that all come over and they all sit and they play as a squad of Fortnite. So if anyone's familiar with the game, so they'll get each son will have one friend come over and they're on a different device. Like one's on a Switch, one's on the Xbox, and 2 are on iPads, and then they're all on the Wi-Fi. And but the Apple TV would really be nice if they had that up in there. But I like it. I mean, I have an Apple TV, 3 Apple TVs running in our house. One 4K Apple TV, and it does look so nice. If you have it was an excuse to go out and buy a 4K TV, and it really, really looks nice. I mean, really looks nice. And we've bought and rented some 4K movies. And they look really nice, but you have to hunt to find good 4K video content. A lot of it's like cars. So we first got it.
Have you used Cheap Charts, the app? It's an app for iOS that it monitors for like sales on the apps or on the iTunes store, but it has features like a list of all the 4K movies and searches on different categories 4K. You can say, okay, show me all the 4K movies that are under $10, matching this search term or whatever. It's really, really, really handy. It's available for the the phone, the iPad, and the Apple.
What's it called?
Cheap Charts.
Cheap Charts.
One word.
Okay.
Fantastic. You got to try it.
Okay.
I have spent a lot of money on $5 discounted movies because they come up, and you can set up a wish list. You'll get a notice when a movie you've been interested in goes on sale, or a book, or whatever. It's really great.
We're in the midst, because I'm traveling next week, so we've been in the midst the last week of watching all the Mission Impossible movies to get them up to speed for MI6. So when I come back for that. Since the kids are now old enough to be introduced to those. But again, I would say iOS 12, in my opinion, really is iOS 11.5. And Apple called it iOS 12. Now, that's not a bad thing that Apple focused on speed and reliability, because I'll tell you what, iOS 11, when it was released, it wasn't iOS 11. It was iOS 11 beta. iOS 11.1 was really iOS 11.0. They went to 11 or 12 betas for iOS 11. They've never gone past 8 before, so they went a lot more betas before they released it, and when they released it, it wasn't ready. It was a lot of bugs, so hopefully iOS 12 won't be so bad. And I'll say this, the first 3 betas of iOS 12 were the most stable first 3 betas of any iOS that we've had in the past. So I think that's a good thing. I think when iOS 12 is released this year, there'll be less complaints, but there was at the cost of less features. Any other questions, let me know. And again, don't use your credit card. Come on, go. And if you need to get a hold of me, just email me today@ios@gmail.com. Thank you guys again for having me. I always appreciate it.
Thank you.